Good afternoon. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I think we're competing with the weather. So many people told me they'd be here, and I think they are now playing hooky. At any rate, we do appreciate you being here, and my name is Susan Kirk. I am a member of the Governmental Affairs Committee. I want to introduce the other Governmental Affairs Committee members that are in the room. Raise your hand as I say your name. Margaret Carroll, she's the chairman. Mike Paulson, vice chairman. Scott Black, Greg Reddy, and Steve Packwood. And so if you've had any interest or inclination in helping on this committee or applying, we do have positions available from time to time, and so speak with these members or contact us afterwards, and we'll get into a discussion with you about what we do and how we do it. I also want to welcome our CEO, Chet Pillsbury, and POA Board President, Marty Inkrot. So thank you for being here. So as some of you may know, maybe not all of you, but we are a POA chartered governmental committee that our primary goal is acting as liaison and advocate for the village, an educator of elected officials and commissions, and as well as villagers, and then we are a leader in community activism to get out the vote. So it's with this in mind that we have these as an educational forum to make people realize what issues affect them living in the village and the necessary fact that it is important that everything is local. You need to go out and vote. So the way we usually do things, each candidate here will take a few minutes, 3 minutes, to make whatever remarks they want, self-introductory remarks, and then after that, it's open questions. So if anyone's interested in posing a question, just line up at the microphone here. And what we would like to do, if you present pages to a candidate, or I'm sorry, an elected official, please don't expect them to read them and answer you at the same time. If you have that much information to share and they need to digest, you probably do need to get with them for your own meeting. However, questions can be addressed, and it also isn't an inquisition. So to get up and ask a question, followed by another question, followed by another question, let's be fair to the fact that other people have questions as well, and if you have a question, let's directly get to the question. So once we get through questions and answers, we usually use the last few minutes as a wrap-up, and that's it. So, any questions? Okay, gentlemen, when you press the button and you see the green, your mic is live. And so, Toyn Cross, Mike, I'm going to say it was you first. You get 3 minutes to make any self-introductory remarks, so you don't need to stand even, just sit there, the mic picks you up better. We have someone, you'll see a yellow sheet there with 20 on it, which means 20 seconds left, and then you see a red where you're done, okay? So go ahead, Mike, it's your turn.
So my name is Mike Campbell. I'm the Loudon County Assessor of Property. 2011, I was appointed by County Commission, and after that was ran and successfully won in 12, and continue to serve in that role. And so my background, I'm a East Tennessee guy, born and raised over in Blount County, moved to Loudon County, and went off to East Tennessee State University, which is in the northeast part of the state. After graduating, got into the appraisal business, so a lot of my business was in Tellico Village. So there was a big boom with construction, and so I've done a lot of inspections, construction inspections, and home appraisals for mortgages and things of that nature. Transferring, so that was about 20 years of experience there, and the opportunity came open for the assessor of property, and put my name in the hat, and so jumped in it full force, and I've become very active with their assessors associations. So we have a couple different associations, and so I've served as president, vice president in the Tennessee International Association of Assessing Officers, and also in the other entity, the TNAAO, back in 2014 was actually chosen East Tennessee Assessor of the Year. And that's part of my involvement of looking at what's going on not only with Loudon County, but across the state, and working with various colleagues that are assessors and their staff across the state. That's kind of my quick and limited bio for you. So, thank you.
I'm Kenneth Presley. Just start out, I'm a member of First Baptist Church in Lenoir City. I'm a Christian, attend there faithfully. I was born in East Tennessee, right down the road in Sweetwater. I'm a graduate of Loudon High School. You don't see that too many times, somebody from Loudon living here in the village, but I'm one of the few. Been here for about 23 years and really have enjoyed living here. It's been good for me and my family. I'm currently District 7 School Board, won in 2020. Didn't like some of the things that were going on with our schools, so I couldn't just sit back and not do anything, so I ran for office to try to get involved, and I have enjoyed every bit of it. If I hadn't enjoyed it, I wouldn't be here tonight running again. I've been working with UPS for 39 years, and if you've been living here for over 3 years, good chance I was probably your UPS driver. I've worked in the village for 25 plus years. Almost 3 years ago, I switched and took an easier route up in Tellico Plains, where it's more driving and less running up and down driveways. But I got about 4 more years to go, less than 4 years to go, and hopefully I can hang that up. Just proud of our schools. You see all the time on the school board, or on the Fox News, or the news about all these, especially Loudon, Virginia. We get confused a lot with Loudon, Virginia. I've got some messages before, emails and messages on Facebook about how bad I was of a person being on the school board in Loudon, Virginia. But I'm here to tell you this is not Virginia. You probably live in one of the most conservative counties in the state of Tennessee, and we got some good schools. And if you haven't been involved in the schools, I encourage you to get involved. All kinds of volunteer work, tutoring, just get in there and see what's going on for yourself. You'll see it's a big difference from other places, but I guess that's it.
Okay, thank you. So, who wants to be the first person with a question? If not, I'll put one out for Mike Campbell. What's our current tax rate?
So the county tax rate's $1.5183.
151.83. Okay. Can you explain how? Well, we know you don't raise our taxes. That's the appraisal. The county commission raise our taxes. So the certified tax rate, how the commission does that, how that works, once they get your appraisal.
So if I can, I'm going to back up a little bit. And so a tax rate of $1.5183, that's, if you look at it in pennies, and we talk about the value of the penny. And so there's basically 152 pennies in a tax rate. And each penny, when you apply it to the overall assessment in the county, that's what the value of the penny generates. So your tax rate, typically only the certified tax rate comes into play as a reappraisal year. So our last reappraisal was in 2021, and we chose to go to a 5-year reappraisal plan. So our next reappraisal will be in 2026. So we won't really talk about certified tax rates until the reappraisal year. However, in each year, we look at, the county commission looks at their budget, and so we, as the assessor of property, I'll compile a couple reports and let them know where our values are going and what is changing. And so what can happen is typically the theory is that we establish a value and it stays flat for that cycle. So in 21, 22, 23, 24, your value would stay flat. There is some points that change that, And that is, so we've got, the gentleman I was talking to at the beginning before the meeting was a new construction build. So his property was prorated, built it, prorated in that 1 year. So he saw from my office a couple correspondence for a couple years. So we saw the prorated value, assessment change notice. The next year, he would get a secondary assessment change notice because it went from a prorated value to a full value. And then he also experienced a reappraisal. So that's part of the laws that are out there, that we notify the property owners, each and every one, when there's a change, and that's through the assessment change notice. So it's a lot of background to get to that point. So when we're looking at revenue, tax revenue, so I report to them the assessment. So appraisal right now, we're about $9.5 billion total value countywide. And so that's a mix of commercial, industrial, personal property, residential. Loudon County, in the total scheme, is roughly just under 37,000 parcels. And so we break that down and we get to an assessment value because the assessment classifications change. And this is real deep in the weeds. But once we get to that assessment, then I can report to County Commission what their revenue is projected at the previous year's tax rate. We also look at growth, and what is our growth is new construction, basically. So all the recent new homes, we're compiling a list of what their growth dollars are. And so mostly this crowd is Loudon County, Tellico Village, and so I gave the scheme, or the total for the county, and we also do it for jurisdictions. In Tellico Village, we're $2.4 billion total value, and I believe we're somewhere north of $9 million in total revenue that funds into the county's tax revenue. So when I go to Budget Committee and County Commission, I will let them know what the value of the penny is. And this story keeps going back and forth. So when we talk about that value of the penny, as the assessment goes up, that's an increase in what that value of that penny is generating. So at current level, I believe we're generating 1 penny creates about $250,000. And so that 1 penny value at the tax rate of $1.5183 generates just around $37 million revenue, tax revenue. And so we're looking at that. The certified tax rate that it's a couple years out, but when it comes into play for reappraisal, we try to establish a benchmark and look at the values when reappraisal is done, and we go from, say, a $400,000 value to a $500,000 value. We don't maintain the same rate. The certified tax rate law is that the rate will actually come down. And so over the years, in 2013, we actually saw a certified tax rate that went up because we came off of the big years of 08 and 09, and the market went down, and we saw a lot of values that actually dropped. So when the value, home value, property value goes down, the rate goes up to maintain a net zero. Over the last two reappraisals, we've seen a steady increase in value, and the rates have dropped. I believe we were, right now we're $1.5183, and I believe the last reappraisal was like $1.80. I actually have that. I'll look that up in a minute. And so as the values increase, certified tax rate is not a windfall for revenue stream. We give a certified tax rate that adjusts that down, and we get a net zero, plus the additional growth dollars can be calculated in as well.
Again, what year are we due for reappraisals?
I'm sorry.
What year is reappraisal?
Reappraisal is 2026.
6. And so someone gets their appraisal and isn't too pleased with your office, and there's an appeals process. Would you explain how that works?
So every spring, if there is a change in value, that change in value is reported in the assessment change notice. And that's mailed out to each property owner. And if that value is not reflective of what they believe, each property owner can call our office and start a informal appeal, questions, and elevate it, and there's several levels of appeal. So in reappraisal, the informal process, then there's the County Board of Equalization. County Board of Equalization only meets by state statute starting June 1st. And so once that county board hears the appeal, they'll want to hear the evidence of a different value. Typically, we're hearing most people say it's lower than what we believe it's worth. And so we'll put our evidence up, they'll make a decision. And you can basically keep moving that appeals process up, and hopefully we can work through and come to a value or a position that we're either have our documentation that we can be persuasive to say, this is why we believe it's worth X dollars based on what is sold in your neighborhood. And so those appeals process can elevate, and we can answer those questions through the office as needed.
All right, thank you. So let's talk about something else that affects our tax dollars, education. And they are a big part of the county budget. And so the new school has been projected anywhere from 75 million to 90 million, are two figures that I've heard, estimating that the cost is going to break down to about 25 cents per square foot. Does this match anything that you've been aware of, Ken?
We have not got a cost on that yet. They have not gave us any numbers. They are just now starting into that. They got done with the schematic, and they've just now, like within the last week, moved to the next phase.
Well, what are they waiting for?
It takes a while to design it. There was a holdup because we had to go before county commission to get approval to go ahead and go with more money to get the next phase done. So it's taken a bit. I believe we're supposed to have something by January, I believe. Don't hold me to that, but we haven't been told the numbers yet. But we're asking county commission is not just for the new school. Philadelphia, there's students down there. There's a class in Philadelphia that meets in a locker room. They have some portable units setting up outside. I think we're wanting to add 10 classrooms down there, plus a band room. The Loudon High School, the CTE, they need more room in their shop department, auto mechanics. That's in part of what we're going to ask for. Greenback, you got K through 12 school at Greenback. They have one gym. That's hard scheduling that many grades for one gym. So we're looking at building just a gym, not with a bunch of bleachers, just basically a hall, a practice gym, more or less, to give the students more and to work on their football stadium. So it's not just a new high school or a 7 through 12 school at the north end of the county.
Okay. Now, audience members, if you have questions, work your way to the mic. Go ahead. Work your way to the microphone. I'm working off notes in case I have a shy audience. So if you've got questions, make sure you get yours in there. So, Mike, go ahead and let's get your question.
There we go. I don't always read these little stickers. My name's Mike Lynch. I live here in the village. We've been here 2 years yesterday. My question is for you, Mr. Presley, and based on your introductory comments, we are clearly going to disagree. And in keeping with Susan's admonition, I'm going to exclude the data that serves as the basis of my question and comment. So based on all of the data that the state has generated, based on annual test scores going back to 2017, I would posit that 60% of our exiting high school students are functionally illiterate. You say our schools are good, but when you look at the test data from 3rd grade through high school, it's abominable. We're paying $18 million a year, less the debt service. What are you going to do if reelected? And by the way, every study that's been done for the last 25 years across the country has demonstrated time and again there is no correlation between more money and performance. So if you're reelected, sir, what will you do if you believe the data to change 60% of our students who are approaching expectations to exceed expectations? Thank you.
That's a question, and I don't know if I have the answer to. A lot of what we do is coming down from the state. They give us a list of textbooks. We have to apply within, the textbooks we buy have to come within what they give us to use. There's a teacher shortage. You can't go out and really get the best teachers because there's not, you have to get what you can get. There's a lot, I don't have an answer to it. I don't know how to fix it. I'm asking you, do you have any suggestions?
Number one, ask for help. There are a number of national NGOs that would be willing to talk with the system as to how to make improvements. I know the Beacon Center in Nashville has been promoting the school savings accounts. Personally, I don't believe in those. I personally believe we need to make our public schools function better.
I agree.
Otherwise, we're just diverting money and there are no winners. But the U.S. Business Roundtable for a number of years had K through 12 reform as a primary goal, and they collected and generated a lot of data, and I suggest they, among others, have the resources available if the school board is interested in learning. I don't have it myself, but I know of it because my CEO volunteered me to be a member of that committee, and I learned far more about K through 12 than I ever wanted to know, especially as my own son was in the middle of that at the time. But I'd be happy to talk about, if you're really interested, I'd be happy to talk to you about it separately, and we'll see if we can find a path forward. But, you know, on December 6th, this committee has invited the Director of Economic Development to this table. And his responsibility is to grow employment in the county. One of the other hats I wore was as a site selection team member. And one of the questions we asked in every community we built a plant, workforce readiness. And if the state's numbers are correct, and 60% of our exiting high school students are not meeting expectations, then how ready is the workforce to be employed by these folks? How are they going to care for themselves? How are they going to contribute financially to the community? You know, it's a problem, and you're not alone. Believe me, you're not alone.
Yeah.
The national NAEP scores are abysmal. Education across the country. But this is now my home. And if there's anything up here that can help my new home, I'd be happy to offer.
I will say this, Loudon is in the top 25% of the ACT scores in the state. Our CTE program, I don't know if you know about the CTE program. We are one of the top programs in the state. We've had 18 districts come to visit our middle schools because our middle school is so advanced compared to the other middle schools around. We have, I know if you go to Philadelphia, they got their own, they got a, my mind's gone blank. What do you call it? A wood saw. They cut up their own lumber. They're making things. You'd be honored and proud of what those students are doing. Because of their CTE program, their attendance levels have increased. They're starting their own small businesses. Some of these young kids are. They're going out and buying their own equipment. We have automotive, business, construction, nursing, electrical, HVAC. They got an agreement with, I think, with Malibu Boats, where they have a signing day to come and take workers from the high schools. They are working with several different places around the county, factories and businesses, to get kids started out when they graduate. Even some of the slow learners. I don't want to say handicap, but they are working in coffee shops. They have a coffee shop in the high school, making coffee and serving coffee, and they're going and visiting the coffee shops around Loudon County, learning. So there's a lot of positive things that are coming, but the test scores, that does need work.
They do, sir.
Yeah.
I escaped from the Chicago suburbs, and when my family first moved there, I had the opportunity to sit next to one of the state regents at a lunch. And he said to me, "So what do you think?" Because we lived in what was purported to be the best K through 12 system in all of Illinois. And my comment to him was, my sense is that the school board believes so long as they are performing better than the city of Chicago, they're doing great. And he said, "You're absolutely right." And that tells a story. So I don't disagree that these other entities are coming to learn what Loudon is doing. That doesn't mean Loudon can't do better.
Totally agree. We can always do better.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. A comment on that, you were mentioning the teacher shortage, but also I know one of the measures that the General Assembly did last year was an increase in teacher salary. So hopefully that will be able to attract some well-qualified teachers. So, Mike, if we go back to that 25 cents per square foot, what does that do to taxes on a house?
So if I understand this, and I'm not quite understanding the 25 cents per square foot,
That's supposedly what it breaks down is the cost to the people living in the county. That's what it's going to be for our taxes on our homes.
do you think it could be 25 cents increase on the tax rate?
Now, there's a thought. Tell us how that would work.
So if our
They may,
if our value of the penny, 1 penny, 152 pennies make up the $1.52 tax rate, you add 30 cents to it, jumps up to $1.81. So a $400,000 house would be currently $1,518 in county taxes, and it would raise it to $1,818, so you'd see a $300 increase in your taxes. So $400,000 is in my mind, an easy number, because 75% of our property value is in residential. Residential classification is at 25%. So all of our math people in here, $400,000 times 25% is $100,000. $100,000 times the tax rate of $1.50, 183 is $1,518 in taxes. So $400,000 times 2 is $800,000. Just multiply the 1,500 by 2, you get $3,000 in taxes. So $3,000 is what, $3,036 on a $800,000 home. So you're moving up $600 in taxes. And so that's the math that if I'm generalizing the idea of if the school project is going to be equivalent to 30 pennies to fund it, then that 30 pennies, if it's just added to the current rate, you could see that math.
So remember, his office is responsible for the appraisal process. The county commissioners, the seat that's empty, unfortunately, he was delayed in getting here due to his job. It is the county commissioners who set the actual tax rate. So, okay, so going back to the schools, Ken, what's Plan B if we don't build the new school? Can we address the issues of the classroom and a locker room in Philadelphia and portables, and so can we do some of the fixes? And is there an estimate on that cost instead of building outright for another school?
We haven't got any other estimates. I will tell you this. I'll go over the schools. Eaton Elementary, they have approximately 649 enrolled. There is no open classrooms. Fort Loudon Middle School has 371 enrollment with 5 open classrooms. Greenback has 680 with 3 open classrooms. Highland Park has 384 with 1 open classroom. Loudon Elementary, 674 with no open classrooms. Loudon High School, 755 with 2 open classrooms. North Middle, 753, no open classrooms. Philadelphia with 542, no open classrooms. Sticky with 180 and 1 open classroom. So it's not just the growth on the north end of the county. The whole county is growing. I think it's the whole state is growing.
So tell us how this works. You've got one school there with 5 open classrooms. So couldn't they handle the overflow of some of the other classroom areas, schools that are full?
That's our newest school, and it's got 5 open classrooms. There's a chance, I guess, if Loudon Elementary with 384, there is a chance that we could move a grade up from Loudon to
I mean, see, I don't know how all this is done. That's your
well,
job.
that's what they've done at Eaton's and North Middle.
Okay.
Eaton's used to be K through 5, and I think it's K through 4 now, and North Middle is 5 through 8. I believe I'm right on that.
Okay.
So
Do you,
They're looking at shifting that 8th grade up to the new
7th and 8th. They're looking at moving 7th through 12. So they'll take the 7th and 8th grade out of North Middle, move into a new high school, and move another grade out of Eaton's to North Middle's, so that North Middle building. So the Eaton's will be K through 3, North Middle will be 4 through 6, and the new school would be 7 through 12.
Okay, I have a question someone sent to me here, that in the past, most Hispanic enrollments have been in Lenore City. Now we're beginning to show an increase to the point that that is not necessarily so. 38% of the county elementary school has a Hispanic enrollment. So what is the school system's plan to address this issue?
there is no plan to address Hispanic. If they're living here in the county, they're coming into our schools.
And so what are their needs as far as teachers for English as a second language or something like that? How is that dealt with?
We have teachers, Spanish teachers that do that. I think we've added one teacher. I believe we had to add one this year, but that's the only time I think since I've been on the board that we've had to add.
So is any of the federal government or state government providing funds to the school board for the Hispanic issue at all?
Not that I'm aware of. I'll give you, hold on one second. I'll give you exactly how many Hispanics we have in the school.
I was going to ask you if you knew the number, and you do.
833 Hispanics total.
Countywide?
Countywide, out of 5,028 students.
Give me that number again, please. 833
833.
out of 5,000 students. Thank you. Okay. So what can be done? Does it start at the school board level as far as making sure tax dollars follow the child to the school?
That's not school board, that would come down from the state.
So that would be Representative Russell, Senator
Yes.
McNally.
Yes.
Okay. Chet?
I want to address this to the school superintendent. I was listening to all the programs that you had and the numbers, and I agree with you, whether we have Hispanics or blacks or whites, that's not the issue. We're here to teach kids. The question I had was, is that all of those things you listed would be considered wage jobs. Do we have a plan? Is there a projection on how many children that we are focused on getting them into higher education outside of having a job to work? I mean, I realize we can have a system that accommodates for those people who want to do trades.
Yes.
Because all of those
Yes.
things are necessary, and there's people who are really good at it and make a great living at it. But do we have any kind of function in there that says, okay, under these conditions, we want to focus on
We do have an engineering program, nursing. We
so
do-
all those are feeding into an engineering school or feeding into a nursing school?
The nursing, yes. I'm not for sure on the engineering if they're feeding into a certain school or not, but we do have, I do know we do have engineering, STEM program.
Let me ask the question differently then. So there's no real, in your school, your process is not bent toward higher education, it's bent toward putting people in a position where they can either find a job by the time they're finished with the 12th grade, or are they moving them toward getting a college education?
I can't answer that for sure. I know that the CTE program we are one of the top in the state, and I hear more about that than I do the other, as far as going to the college.
Understood. Okay.
So I can get answers for you if you need me to.
Just a question.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Betsy Wellington. I live here in the village. I just wanted to say the last year I was a mentor for the Tennessee Promise Program. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
So that's the program that helps get all the kids into the college program. And it's amazing that Tennessee is the only state in the country, I think, that promises a full ride to community college. So there's other forces going on there, too. Just want to make that comment.
Thank you.
Good information, thank you. Ken, is it possible for the school board to do a resolution to the assembly stating support for school dollars following the child?
I guess that's possible. We would probably take it before the Tennessee State School Board Association, which we're meeting. That meeting started today. As soon as I'm done here tonight, I'll be going heading there.
Okay.
So
Is that something that, does the school board locally have a position on that, one way or the other? Has it been discussed?
not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Excuse me. Yes, thank you. Good, good.
Hi, Mike Paulson, Government Affairs Committee. Push the button. Thank you for the reminder. As I listen to this, I'm absorbing this information, and it's very good information, by the way. Of the 832 immigrants, do we know how that breaks down of illegal versus
No, I do not know
illegal?
that. I do not know that.
Okay, because I heard some disturbing, not news, but information that you're going to have some illegal immigrants that are part of the school system, and you are required by law to teach them.
Yes.
But the parents can't work. They're illegal immigrants.
I wouldn't say they can't because they do.
Okay, but they work illegally.
Yes.
They're not contributing to the economy, if you will, but via taxes.
Yes, you're correct.
Just thought I'd ask.
As far as my understanding, yes.
Okay, well,
And I don't want to name places, but there is one place here in Loudon County that's well-known for,
hiring illegals.
yes,
I'm sure there are others.
yeah, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Would you explain that program, the CEP? C? CTE, thank you. Would you explain that, what it is, how it works?
It's just the career technical education.
And when did it start? Just with,
I don't know when they started
Okay.
it, but I know we're one of the few in the whole state that has it down into the middle schools. And so that's why we've had so many people come to our county to look at our CTE program in the middle school. And everything in the middle school feeds into the high school,
okay. And you found it to be effective? The board has?
yes.
Okay. Excuse me. What is the process if the state told you you had to provide woke books? I'll even go to describe it better, some of the pornographic books that are out in the county library. Would you have to provide them? Or can the school board say, no, we will not put those in the schools?
Legally, I don't know if it was before the school board, I couldn't vote for it. So I don't know legally if we'd have to or not.
Because the state money, as well as the federal money, always more or less gives you directives as to what you need to do. Is that correct?
Yes, and we've had some people from here in the village that came into our libraries and looked at our books. I know some people that has contacted me, want to know if we had certain books.
They contacted me too.
And so far, knock on wood, we've been good on that.
They did let me know that it isn't in the schools now, but it is in the county libraries. So, and they are disturbing. When you see the pictures, they are very disturbing. Who else has a question? Okay. One of the things we're going to ask is economic development, that if they are no longer a part of the county, how does that affect the workforce? How does that affect taxes and so forth? But that's something that's still kind of being worked through and so on. But supposedly the county has indicated that they won't be part of the Economic Development Agency anymore. And that was something I was hoping to direct to Commissioner James. So what do you see as, one thing I want to ask you to do, please explain how much training and schooling you had to go to after you were elected. And then what do you think are the 3 most difficult things facing the school board coming up?
Okay, after elected, I had to, it was 2 days, I had to go to class in Nashville for a new member orientation. We are a board of, Loudon County Board is a board of distinction. We take, there's 5 levels. I'm currently at level 3. We have extra classes. I know back in the spring, I took 7 hours of safety class. We have different classes every year. Every summer, we go to what they call law up in Gatlinburg, where we learn the new laws that have been passed. We'll discuss that some this weekend in Nashville. we've been over budgets. We have a budget class we had to take, superintendent relations class. So all year, throughout the year, we attend classes. And you got to put in so many hours to get to level 1, level 2, and level 3, all the way up to level 5.
I'm glad you mentioned the safety training there. At one point, when school resource officers were still first put in the schools, they were deputies. Now that isn't necessarily the case. Is that correct?
That's incorrect.
That-
Every one of our resource officers, they are actually work for the sheriff's department. They come straight through the sheriff's department.
Okay. So in the safety training that you've had, have you done drills for active shooters?
We haven't. We've watched the drills and that sort of thing. I know Loudon County, we have a safety committee with, I think, the principals and the sheriff's department, some of the supervisors from the school. They go around to certain schools and they'll check doors and just look at things. I know we just spent, I think it was $300,000 to put a not bulletproof ballistic film over every window. We're putting it over every window, where that way if somebody comes up to the door, tries to shoot the window out, the bullet will go through, but it will not shatter the glass. Because I think that's what happened over in Nashville with that shooting. We're in the process of doing that right now, getting that done. So
Has the school done any drills with the sheriff's department for emergency situations?
you talking about as far as students and things?
No, the administration, the teachers.
I don't know if the teachers have or not. I know the sheriff's department and even the Loudon Police Department, they showed up at the schools and they'll work on things and look at things to see what they can do if something was to happen.
Okay. All right. I'm reaching the end of my list. Does anyone else have questions? Yay, I'm so glad, Mike.
Okay, I see the mic is on. Great, good. Once again, sorry, don't mean to ignore you, sir, but once again, going back to your brochure from earlier today, I see in the far back of it where you have a very nicely done, by the way, page that talks about all the different colleges and universities that your students go to.
And can I say, if you don't have these, there's some of those back in the back.
Very nice done, by the way. Do you track the numbers?
I do not. I probably can get that. I'm sure someone at the office does.
Yeah.
But
You
I
obviously
do
track
not-
some.
Yeah, I do not have those numbers
Okay.
handy, but I could check and see.
And second of all, being a retiree of the Air Force, do you encourage or do you have any program supporting ROTC or entrance into the military?
Yes, we do. In fact, I believe they're just now starting up in Greenback. They got a pilot that is starting some pre-pilot classes at Greenback. They're starting out, I think, with a drone and things. So, yes, we do have ROTC.
Okay, and I violated the law, I asked 2 questions.
Go right ahead. Yes, Mike.
Again, Mike, we're not dissing you, it's just, I don't do math.
I thought my job was hard, but it looks like I got the easy one.
I just wanted to make an observation, Mr. Presley. I don't know if Loudon High School does this, but I had the opportunity to attend the graduation ceremony last spring at Meigs County High School. And as each student crossed the platform, there was a staff member who informed the audience what the next step was for that graduate or certificate recipient, whether they were going to community college, whether they were going to veterinary school, whether they were joining the Marines, whether they had nothing. Does Loudon County High School do
I
that?
don't believe so.
I will tell you, it was formative and occasionally depressing, but it helped everyone in the audience understand where the different children were heading in life after completing their 12th grade of education. So I just throw that out there.
I'll mention that.
I want to get back to the question I was asking about Hispanic students, and not so much that they should be treated differently. I agree with the comment that all children need to be taught. But what I was getting at there is the cost of Hispanic students due to the state or the federal not adding those dollars to special teachers or whatever. And so is that cost going to incrementally be added into school board request to the county in the next budget term? Or has it already for this past year?
I don't think so. That comes from the state. And if you look
But
at.
if it comes from the state, but yet they're not giving us state dollars?
They're not giving the state, well, how does the state get their tax dollars? Through the sales tax? So they are still buying things. So the states, I think the state is getting their money. It's the federal government that's not getting their money because they're not paying any federal income tax. If you look in the brochure, I think it's $9,298 per student is the
Okay.
cost. So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, Gary, welcome.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Okay. A couple questions. Staying on the schools for right now. One of the things is, I guess one of my questions is the money trail. I could bring this up to the county commission. Everybody is anxious to get federal grants and state grants. The state grants come from the federal grants. The grant money has been flowing for years on some of these grants. However, the stipulations in the grants have changed radically, especially in the school area. So my concern is when we get the grants, when the grants come down to the school and the school applies for a grant, who's reading the stipulations on what's mandatory within the school system of what the school has to do now to put a plan together that meets the requirements to keep you viable for the grant money? That's where CRT has come through. That's where all these other issues have come through. So what does this school system do to protect the students from that type of radical activity that is really driven by a Marxist background? I mean, any one of us that's taken this in growing up can read this and can tell you exactly where the manifests are coming from. What are we doing to ensure that we push back on that, even to the fact of not just saying, okay, we need this money, and they say, oh, it's grant. Don't worry about it. I've heard this in every one approval process through every one of the budgets. What's the school,
We got
doing?
a person, I'm pretty sure at central office that does all the grants. I'm pretty sure that I hope she's reading through it, seeing what strings are attached to each grant.
but what's the board doing to ask the questions to ensure that that is happening is my concern.
Not doing anything, honest truth.
Because I see I'm watching these approval process. Oh, it's a grant. Don't worry about it. We got this grant. Don't worry about it.
I know there was some grants back a couple year ago that everybody was worried about it, that if Loudon County took it, that we would have to mask our kids up. We never required any masking going on. We never required any vaccination
I
going on.
realize on that. My
Yeah.
point's getting back to when you look at the ESG score, everybody that's taking grants right now has a requirement to meet ESG requirements. That's in there. The school systems are all hiring the same audit and companies that have to do these and put the planning together. The Economic Development Agency has got requirements that are tied right to HUD, which HUD on their page has totally changed what HUD stands for. And the grants are all coming from these agencies. So that's my point, is who's watching this to protect the kids? Because ultimately, we all think we're being protected, but they're getting in the back door because the strings are tied to the money flow. So that's my question that needs to be really looked at by the school board, because our kids are being railroaded through the back door, through the financial structure of what they have to do to make sure they meet the requirement to keep the money coming.
It isn't just school dollars, it's happening with housing dollars, with T-Dot dollars, anything
It's
that
ev-
is
it's-
federal funds.
it's every
But
place.
one point to
Yeah,
make
but-
is there is no free money. A grant is not free
No.
money, it's our tax dollars.
Yeah, it's still our tax dollars, it's just how we're getting it, type of thing. And then it impacts over on the other side. So that's one area that I just wanted to bring up on that. And the other thing is, I kind of tie on the back of, I've heard that we're rating of our students is high, which it's better than other areas in the state. However, every state in the public school system across the United States since 2019, once COVID hit, has lowered the standards significantly, to the fact that we now have school districts and areas around this country that are basically saying our kids don't have to be able to read or have comprehension or write to pass, to get out, because they lost so much during COVID. So again, lowering the bar doesn't create success. It's raising the bar and striving for that and driving our teachers to make sure our teachers are doing that. So that's
agree.
another point I just wanted to bring up, is I agree, is the fact that I look at these school systems and what the kids are coming out with, they're not prepared for life.
Yeah.
Now, we're doing a better job, I'll have to say this in Loudon, because I've seen it, is what you're saying is these curriculums that are taking the kids and training them skills. Because to getting a skill, in some cases, is much more valuable in today's environment potentially than getting a higher education,
Yeah.
in my personal opinion. And I've got both, so, okay, so it's how do we train our kids to be better citizens? So that's the thing I'm going to be looking at for the people running, and that's what I'm going to be promoting, is to ensure our kids, and then also, you brought up the safety issue, and I'm glad you did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Why were standards changed? Did that come down from the feds or the state? How was it brought up that we're going to lower these standards?
It's, the state they changed the scoring. In fact, they're in the process of doing it right now.
Based on what criteria?
I don't know.
Because they're the state.
Yeah.
And they can.
So
Why did they remove cursive writing?
I don't know. The same, I have the question, why did they remove keyboard? I don't know.
Interesting. Mike?
I hate to pick on our school board member.
I'm getting drilled.
What's the starting salary for a teacher these days?
I do not have that. I don't think I have that. Maybe I do have that. Give me a minute.
I'm sure you want to do this again.
Y'all got any questions for him while I'm looking this up?
Well, we've already
he-
grilled him. We already got.
While he checks his notes, I'll go ahead and remind you, these are incumbents, and they will be on the ballot for the March 5th primary, which is the reason why we're having this now. We didn't think you'd want to show up at Christmas holidays or the day after New Year's, whatever. And early voting starts February 14th. So the primary is going to be here before you know it. So they will be out and about, but the Christmas season is a hard season to try and do your campaigning and so forth. So you got it, Ken?
Yes.
All right.
For a 0 years experience, $44,368.
44. Do you know what that equates to in hourly wage?
No, I do not.
I did some math earlier. It's about the same starting salary as someone going to work for Yamaha or Mastercraft or any of the others. So 4-year degree plus high school education.
And you got to put up with a lot more being a teacher.
Just a point.
Yeah.
In case you need an argument to go to the state for more money for these starting teachers.
Yeah. That's just, like I said, that's a BS degree, bachelor's degree.
So here is a question that's totally an opinion question. You may not be able to do anything about it, but would you agree to defund and abolish the Department of Education in Washington?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
I think it should be left up to local agencies, yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, we're going to let them say the last of their campaign speech, and we're going to get out early. So, Ken, you can go first for this, and Margaret will hold up the sign, and you know what? We've got time. Don't worry about the sign. Say what you want to say. We'll move on to Mike. We're winging it at this point. Go for it.
Okay, I'm not a speaker, so this is something new for me. In fact, I lucked up 4 years ago when I was running. I didn't have to do this because of COVID, but that's one good thing about COVID for me. But I'm here. I'm doing my best, and I'm here to represent District 7. If I don't have the answers, if you'll give me your name and number, I'll do my best to get the answer back to you, and just hope I have your support.
Vote early, vote often. If you love your assessor, vote on February 14th. So I rolled in September of 2011. Third term. And so I got off real easy today. This is, I feel for my school board representative here. It was, I guess it is a huge.
Susan, your microphone. Susan, your microphone.
Thank you so much. Sorry about that. Commissioner Bill James is the Assistant Fire Chief for Loudon County Fire Department, and so he had something job-wise that held him up. So it's unfortunate he wasn't here. He is a candidate. Please don't hold that against him, but we'll see if we can get some kind of opportunity for him. So, anything else? We're adjourned. Thank you. Thank you so much.